What's going on, everyone? Bran here from Bloody Breakdown, and today we're going to jump right back into our schedule. I know it's been a little iffy, spotty here and there with a lot of the things going on that we're facing in our world, but I think even more now than ever, it's time to at least have some normalcy, given the fact that that's limited right now, and rightfully so. Let's jump into something we haven't done on this channel in quite some time. I want to do another ranked video, and today, just like in all the other ranked videos I've ever done, we're going to be ranking another horror franchise. Today, as you can tell by the title and thumbnail, we're going to be taking a look, and I'm going to specifically be ranking my opinion, no one else's. I always throw this out here at the beginning as a bit of a caution, so I don't end up with a lot of negative feedback in the comments. This is just my opinion, but today we're going to be taking a look at Rob Zombie's Firefly franchise, the trilogy that, of course, consists of House of 1,000 Corpses, The Devil's Rejects, and more recently, Three from Hell. So, obviously, 3 spots. We're going to start with number 3. In my opinion, the least effective in the series, my least favorite in the series. I don't think it'll be a shock to many people to see that is going to be the most recent entry in the series, Rob Zombie's Three from Hell. Now, before I say anything else about this film, I do want to say I don't hate it like a lot of people hate this film. There seems to be, I think there was a misconception. I think it was a general misconception that this film was going to be, at least have a bigger budget. I think a lot of people had the misconception that this film was going to be a bigger budget release than what it actually was until people started seeing the trailer, until people started hearing some things about the film. Knowing what theater it was going to be coming out in, knowing it was going to have that similar tone as far as, well, tone's probably the wrong word to go or use there. Have that similar budget to a lot of other films that have come out in similar ways in Fathom theaters, like the Jay and Silent Bob reboot film. I kind of knew what we were getting into, so I don't think my expectations were at a level that some people's were, and I think that's where a lot of people fall back on this one. I don't think they realized what they were getting into with this was a very small budget film, and I think Rob Zombie probably wanted to cash in on the success of The Devil's Rejects the best he could with a small budget sequel, and that's what this is. I think for what it is, it's not a bad film in my estimation. I think, though, that if you're looking at the Firefly trilogy, it's definitely the least effective. Sadly, Sid, who played Captain Spaulding, passed away right after this film. He was in very bad shape during the filming, so his role in the movie is very limited. I think they handled it the best way they possibly could given the circumstances. I don't think Otis as a character changed an awful lot in the huge gap in between films, but I think if you look at Baby's character, she definitely changed. She went from a controlled frenzy to complete and total chaos in her brain, being in isolation for a long time. So there was some character development amongst some of these characters. I like Richard Brake's character in this film. Foxy, I believe his name is, but he definitely doesn't stack up to Doomhead, I believe he was, from 31. So Richard Brake has the potential to play that really cool, menacing villain, but I just don't think this was quite it. Like I said, overall, I don't dislike this film. I think it was okay. I think it is what it is, and that's all right. But if you're talking about the Firefly trilogy, this one's definitely the least favorite, in my opinion. So, coming in at number 2, I don't think this one's really going to surprise too many people either. 2003's House of 1,000 Corpses, the original, the first in the franchise, in the trilogy. And a lot of people talk about the tonal difference between House and Devil's Rejects. Now, when you talk about Three from Hell, it follows a very similar tone from the Devil's Rejects, which once again I think Rob was really trying to cash in on the popularity of that film, give the fans something new, but do it on a scale he could actually achieve. With this one, this one had a lot of trouble getting a release. Rob filmed it, I think, at Universal, ended up buying the rights back, finally getting it distributed over at Lionsgate. But going back to tone, this is the one film in the franchise that's tonally different from any of the others that follow. This one seems more supernatural in a lot of ways. It seems more grindhousey and grungy, and even for a Rob Zombie film, this was his first directorial outing. So he's getting a lot of that out of his system in this film. I love the character of Dr. Satan. I wish we had seen some of those edited, those cut clips, those scenes that were going to be used in The Devil's Rejects, but I do agree for once again, the tone that they were going with, it was vastly different and out of left field. Didn't really flow, didn't make a lot of sense, but I love the character in this film. I love, Spaulding gets his start in this one, and the characters in general are really good in this film. It's really interesting to see like Rainn Wilson pre-Office as Fishboy in this. But I really love this movie. This is a film that it kind of holds a cool place for me because I think it was coming at a time where I was starting to want something different from horror again. Horror had kind of been revived in 1996, at least slasher horror in a lot of ways with Scream, and then a lot of films after that, they took that formula and they ran with it, and you saw it in Halloween H2O and a lot of the stuff Kevin Williamson did for obvious reasons, and a lot of stuff he didn't do that people were trying to capitalize on. But this took it back to something different. This film took it back to something that I hadn't seen since maybe the 70s or 80s. It felt mean. It felt like horror again to me. It wasn't so clean anymore. So I really enjoy that film. And once again, that's House of a Thousand Corpses is another film that a lot of people take a dump on. A lot of people really only want to hear about The Devil's Rejects when you're talking about this series, but I gotta tell you, Three from Hell may not be something that I think is going to stay with you, especially if you're just a casual, common moviegoer. But I think House of a Thousand Corpses definitely will. So there, House of a Thousand Corpses at number 2 on this list. So that really only leaves room for one more spot. No one's going to be shocked by this one, but in my opinion, the number 1 film in the Rob Zombie Firefly franchise, the trilogy, is of course 2005's The Devil's Rejects. And it just, for Rob Zombie, it doesn't get any better than this. I know Rob Zombie's a guy that is very contentious as far as his filmmaking in the horror community. I enjoyed his remake of Halloween. I thought it was okay for what it was. I thought he made it his own, but it was still enough there to say, yes, this is definitely a remake. He took some liberties, he did some things differently, but overall I thought it was an okay film. I thought it was a decent Halloween film. Wasn't big on the second one, for some obvious reasons. And, I think if you look at his filmography, there's definitely hit and miss. For me, Rob Zombie, I don't think he will ever achieve anything to the level that he achieved with this film. This movie was simply amazing. And I don't mean this as any kind of insult to Rob Zombie. I just think every director has that one movie that they do, and it's like, yeah, good luck topping that. That's pretty much a masterpiece. And the way I look at The Devil's Rejects is a horror cinematic masterpiece. I think it was done so well from the opening frame all the way to the end. The characters are mean, they are brutal, they are, everything you should want out of horror villains. And there's still a way that they are made to look sympathetic in the film at certain points too. which is another thing I like about this, is the turning these stereotypes on their head and seeing the other side of things. Even the protagonist in this film, Wydell, he at one point becomes almost an antagonistic-like character. So I love the story behind it. The tonal shift is a bit jarring if you're a fan of the first one, but I think once you watch through the film, you realize what he was doing with this, and I think he did a fantastic job. And I just have to say, the ending to The Devil's Rejects, one of the best endings in horror cinema, period. The use of Freebird by Leonard Skinner with the standoff, the shoot-off between the cops and the Firefly clan, fucking amazing. Big fan of this film. Like I said, in my opinion, not only the best in the Firefly trilogy, but the best that Rob Zombie has ever been behind the director's chair to produce. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Just to recap one more time, here it is. Number 3, obviously, 3 from Hell. Number 2, House of 1,000 Corpses. And of course, number 1, The Devil's Rejects. A big favorite of mine, actually. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Not a whole lot of films to rank here in this series, obviously, but I felt like it needed to be done eventually, and what better time than now? So I want to know what you all think in the comment section down below. Let me know your ranking, your thoughts on the Firefly franchise, the Firefly trilogy, however you'd like to address that. Let me know down in the comment section below. While you're there, leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe and ring that notification bell, which turns on notifications for all my uploads or live streams. If you enjoy what we're doing here, not only do we do ranking videos, we do pretty much anything horror. We do Bloody Breakdowns, hence the name of the channel, where we do deep dives into horror's best and worst films. I do spoiler-free reviews. I cover a lot of upcoming news about Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, the upcoming Candyman film, the upcoming Saw film, Spiral, all the news surrounding Scream 5. We don't know what it is, but yeah, anything and everything horror, it's being talked about right here at Bloody Breakdown. So be sure to subscribe and check down below in the description section with links to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or even support my work on Patreon. And during these trying times, if it's something that you can't do, I definitely understand that. Share out the video. That's absolutely free and worth a lot as well. So with that said, everyone, I'm Bren from Bloody Breakdown, and we'll catch you all next time.